Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I return to you once again as the level-headed, balanced voice of the vasectomites. And today I wanted us to talk about patterns of behavior, the concept of predictability and being unpredictable. And I just have to say to myself, and I'm going to ask you this question also. Is there anything more predictable, more boring than mental health in 2026? I mean, isn't this just one of those ships that has come in, had its moment, and then sailed? It's really along the lines of what is this thing? The Y2K bug, right? Things like climate change. Remember they told us the weather was going to kill us all, and like the weather is still exactly the same. Like I've been on this planet for almost 100 years, the lifespan of the Ancient One. And I'm telling you, the weather is exactly the same. And so are the people. The only thing that's changed is technology, right? And this is what I wanted to talk about today. Just behaviors, patterns of behavior. Not just the behavior, but the repetitive nature of behavior. Because I believe that every person has a repetitive routine, a sequence, and an order that they repeat over and over and over again, voluntarily or involuntarily, knowingly or unknowingly, blatantly or indirectly, right? I have certain speed patterns that I repeat that I don't know. And I'm going to demonstrate one of these things. And once I demonstrate it to you, you're going to hear it all the time. I'm a person who looks for patterns, and within myself in particular. So, I always say know thyself. So I will recognize this within myself, and perhaps you might recognize it too. One of the things that I always say is right at the end of almost every statement or every other statement, or when I complete a thought, I will end that with saying right. And sometimes you might not hear me say it, and then you'll hear me say it all the time. And it's an involuntary speed pattern, and all of us have it, and you have it too. And now that I've mentioned it, I'm trying to avoid saying right all the time, but I say right all the time. It's not just a involuntary speech pattern, but it's also a speech mechanism that indicates, on the one hand, that I've completed a thought, but simultaneously it checks whether you understand the thought, and also it indicates that I'm at a certain point in my speech. So it indicates that I've made the point. I may now elaborate on the point or move on to a corresponding point that may or may not add to the discussion or the point I've made. But all of us have this. All of us have these patterns, these routines within ourselves, that we practice every single day. Now, another thing that another one that I say is now. I always say now. Whenever I start a sentence, I'll say now. Which indicates that we are at a certain point, not only place but also in time, and that we are proceeding. We are on schedule. So I always say things like, now you've heard me say that I pride myself in being predictable, which by the way I do, but I'll start a sentence with now every ever so often. Very interesting, very interesting that I noticed that along with saying right. But I'm sure if you think of your own speech patterns, I'm sure you'll discover some things about yourself too. But myself, I pride myself on these patterns. Upon realizing that not only do I have patterns, and I realized this at an early age, everybody has patterns, good and bad ones. What you want to do is you want to identify your good patterns and then repeat those over and over and over again. So, for instance, if you have something that you do, let's say you speak two languages, you are bilingual. You speak Spanish and you speak English. And every time you speak English, people want to pay you to speak English. They want to put you in magazines, they want to put you in newspapers, they want you on the radio, on the TV, on the podcast. But every time you speak Spanish, people don't, not only do they not listen to you, they shy away from you, or whatever the reason is. Have you ever noticed that there's those professionals when they speak a certain, when there's bilingual, multilingual professionals, where when they speak a certain language, they're very proficient and they make a lot of money. But when they switch to another language, even if they're very good at that language, they don't make money. They don't make money speaking that language. So, you know, best is to just maintain, the pattern, the pattern that makes you productive, the pattern that makes you successful. And once I found or identified certain patterns within myself that I thought were making me productive, at least compared to other patterns where I would be either losing money, losing time, gaining weight, that kind of thing. So ultimately, you find a pattern that works for you and you stick with it. And that's where the phrase comes from. I pride myself in being predictable. I'm gonna work 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. You're looking for me during those core hours, you know exactly where I'll be. I'm going to run 10 kilometers every day, 6 days a week, right? So, oh, there we go. I said right again. So, there's another pattern. But these patterns keep me productive. They don't just keep me alive. They don't just keep me healthy. They don't just keep me stable. They they keep me productive. They keep me effective. They keep me efficient. Upon changing those patterns, I find that success and progress came at a very high cost. It was harder, it was more difficult, it was challenging, and it took longer. And it is because of these processes that and these patterns, these predictable successful patterns that I repeat over and over in my life. These patterns then become the standards. And therefore, because I have these patterns that have these results, I know that upholding and maintaining these patterns is the same as upholding and maintaining standards. And something that is not a standard, right? Something is not a standard if it changes from person to person, place to place, situation to situation. So think of your favorite fast food restaurants, takeaways, and that kind of thing. Everywhere you go, they give you the same quality of food every single time. Each bite is the same wherever you go. Maybe some minor changes here and there, but for the most part, the standard is maintained. And that's what it is. They're maintaining a standard of success, and they don't change it anywhere they go. Anywhere in the world where you go, where you see the golden M in the sky or the three letters of chicken, you know which ones I'm talking about, right? The ones that sell the chicken. Everywhere you go, you're gonna find that chicken is the same. And I've had that chicken from the east to the west, and it tastes the same everywhere, right? So a standard, whether it's higher than what you're used to or lower than what you're used to, or higher and lower than your capacity, cannot change. And you cannot be said to be maintaining or upholding standards if you yourself believe or behave in changing unreliable, unstable ways, or if you believe that there's a benefit. This is the thought I'm trying to have. If you believe that there's a benefit in behaving in unreliable, unstable, always changing ways, then you're really not upholding any standards, right? Then you really, really have no standards. To be a true and wise leader, you must be known for certain things, right? You must be known for getting results. You must be known for being task oriented. You must be known for working on your feet. You must be known for being on time, being diligent, upholding the law, upholding the rules, doing that extra time, that overtime every time. You have to be predictable in these ways. You have to be predictable until you practice the deceptive arts, in which case you are going to be very unpredictable. This is another part of the benefit of practicing the deceptive arts. There's truly, to really practice the deceptive arts, it's going to sound like a contradiction, but it's really not to practice them. It's to have people be so confident that they believe that you don't have the capacity for deception. So much so, when you do deceive them, they would never believe the deception. And if somebody told them that they were deceived and explained to them how they were deceived, they would stand up and fight in your honor against that person. That's really how deep the level of deception must go. And you'll only achieve that level of deception until people have you pegged as a certain kind of person. They have to know you as the butler type, as the guy who's always there doing everything. Not overdressed, but not underdressed. Just always hardworking, appropriately dressed to be hardworking. And then, at the critical moment, you pull a switch. And there it goes. But on the topic of predictability, there is another group of people who themselves don't pride themselves in being predictable, right? Or in the predictability of upholding and maintaining standards. I remember one time, some time ago, and I'm just gonna talk about this before I forget about it. An anecdotal story. Some time ago, I was working with a colleague who I don't work with anymore. We were in the same department, working on a similar project, that kind of thing. And he said to me, you pretty much wear the same thing every day, which, by the way, most people do, right? Most people wear the same thing in just different colors. So I just happen to wear the same thing in the same color. color. Really, I'm not that type of creative person. I can tell you exactly what I wear. It's a navy blue suit and a white shirt. I have many navy blue suits, but I find the navy blue. Sometimes I'll switch it up and put on a charcoal gray, right? But I'm really not going with the red suits and the green suits and the brown suits and the tan suits. I'm really not doing any of that. I'm also not wearing a black suits. Black suits are for funerals. Your funeral, by the way, not other people's. So I'm really a navy blue kind of guy, and not like the blue like that the presidents wear, like the dark navy blue, the one that you can wear under every circumstance. And I've tried several different kind of suits. They just don't work. And what happened was I had different suits in different colors and different patterns and all kinds of things, as one does, all tailored, of course. But then what happened, it was a question of productivity. I found that, that suit I could wear, but then I had to get it, dry cleaned or steamed right after the wear. So, I couldn't have it air out for a day or two and then steam it. I had to deal with it right then and there. There are some suits that you gotta deal with immediately, very sensitive. Then there were suits that just endured. They just endured all manner of circumstances, and this was the charcoal and the navy. And so once I had been through that transition, I didn't think it was a transition. I thought I had arrived. I then realized, okay, this is what works. And then I also did the thing with all the different kinds of shirts. And ultimately, I just landed on one style, one color that works for almost every set of circumstances. It's made me predictable, it's made me productive, and it's helped to maintain the standard, right? It really helps to maintain the standard. You could look really good in the evening in like one of those, you've seen these men wear these bright red, maroon type of red suits. It's a dark rich, but it's bright red. Now that could be great for evening wear, but you'll look like a clown wearing that at work every day. And don't wear a green shirt with a red, with a red suit. Now you really look like a clown. So I mean, just get something that works and get a whole pattern, or a whole, collection of them. That way you can switch them out when the one, is worn, and you can wear another one, and you can be productive every day. Now, a guy noticed this about me, a colleague. And he said, man, you're always wearing the same thing, or at least the same kind of thing. Now, some suits have different patterns and all that, plaid and all such things. And I said, yeah, I will wear different clothes, but really my color scheme is what's consistent. I just wear the same colors all the time. Different clothes, but the same colors. But he didn't recognize that. He was just like, do you wear the same thing every day? And the simple answer is pretty much yes. No, it's not the same thing every day, but yes, it is the same thing every day. And I said to him, I pride myself in being predictable, meaning I'm trying to uphold standards. He took offense to that, and he responded in a way that I didn't think it warranted the comment. I said, yeah, I pride myself in being predictable. As calm as I'm saying it to you now, he responded in a very snide tone, saying, well, I pride myself on being unpredictable, with the emphasis on the unpredictable. He even shook his head around like, one of those car toys bobbing from side to side. And I said, oh, okay. And I asked him, but are you really unpredictable? I wear the same thing every day, deliberately. I do it because I tried different things, they didn't work, so I stick with what works and it's deliberate. You wear the same thing every day in just a different color. You still wear trousers, you still wear shoes, you still wear a belt, you still wear a jacket, you still wear a shirt, and you still wear a tie. You just change up the colors. But it's the same thing. It's just as predictable. As a matter of fact, I went as far as to say you wear the same colors on the same days on just different weeks. So if you had to take a picture of yourself on Monday, you'd realize that you wear the same thing every Monday. And if you don't wear that on Monday, you'll wear the same that on Tuesday. Or you'll switch around Monday and Tuesday and have Wednesday and Thursday and switch those around. But on Friday, you always wear a particular thing, right? So casual Friday, that kind of thing. And people will wear the same casual clothes, at least the same casual style, and claim to be unpredictable. And you'll wear the same thing every single week for years and claim that you're unpredictable. They pride themselves in these delusions, right? And in the delusion that they are surprising. You know, there are some people who genuinely think that they are unpredictable. They think that when they wake up in the morning, they walk a different way. They talk a different way. Their cadence and their tones are a different way. Their voice will somehow wake up and they'll be a different way. And it's not, it's the same. You're the same person every single day. The same thing that you liked eating, you still like eating it. That fast food restaurant that you like, it's still your favorite fast food restaurant. You're predictable. You're predictable. And then, but they convince themselves that they are unique and special in some way. It is so frustrating. It is so frustrating to see somebody do the same thing over and over and over again and then claim that they are not doing the same thing over and over again. It's like you don't even know. You don't even know. You go to the same job, you drive the same car, you live in the same place, you watch the same show. And if you're not watching that show, you're watching a similar type of show. And let me explain to you how predictable your behavior really is. When you turn on the Netflix, there's a show waiting there for you to watch. Now just think about that. How did they even know to put the show on? When you get home, you're sitting on a couch that's literally designed for you to be able to sit and watch a television. That's literally designed to play the show that like your entire life is planned and predictable, and it's been planned by other people. The fact that you have furniture of a certain kind that you sit on. Think about the chair that you're sitting on. That chair was designed 1,000 years ago. And there you are sitting on it, thinking you're unpredictable. Everything about you is predictable. The way you use the bathroom, the toothbrush, the shower, the fact that you use toilet paper and tissue, all these things that you need, that you have, that you use all the time, that you've convinced yourself make you unpredictable. They are only there, they are only present in your life because someone has anticipated your needs. You are predictable beyond your capacity to understand. You are not just predictable, you're boring. That's how predictable you are. And so is mental health, right? And these people, how they prove that they are unique, how they prove that they are unpredictable and surprising, is just the most predictable way ever. They act rude, they swear, they shout, they are belligerent, they are uncouth, and quite frankly, they're just intolerable. And the worst thing that they actually do, the only thing that they accomplish is being an inconvenience to other people, right? And they do this at the least opportune moment. And all they are is they're just disruptive. That's it. That's it. They haven't changed anything, you know. They haven't uplifted anything. They just disrupted the flow of things. The mental health community is part of this pattern, is part of the people who believe that they are surprising, that they are unpredictable, right? That they have the shock factor, when in reality, all you've demonstrated is that you are annoying, fragile, and insufferable. There's nothing new about what you're saying or claiming to be. Worse off, when you do these things in public, when you decide, okay, there's people here, let me now be unpredictable, right? All you do is you cause delays and you make like lines move very slowly, so the line will move very slow because of you, and it gets longer, right? And it'll continue like this until like security or some type of authority comes and removes you, and then we can all carry on with our lives, right? While you try to be unpredictable, right? And you know, and then we can just move things along. The sufferers of mental illness are very frustrating to me, because they also have another very particular pattern that I've mentioned before. And I've mentioned that mental illness, and those that suffer from it, always seem to be under perfect control during like work hours and during the work week. Right, so there's no mental illness in corporate offices, right? There's no mental illnesses in people that work in the courthouses, right? There's no mental illnesses in people that have bosses, where there's HR, where there's managers, where there are cameras and there's security and supervisors, right? Those that suffer from the problems of mental illness never seem to call the police when they are at work. They never seem to be involved in an unresolvable argument at work. They never seem to misunderstand simple instructions. When they tell them sit over there, they don't go sit somewhere else. When they tell them that your break is at 12:30, they don't take the break at 12:25. They take it immediately 12:30. They don't take it at 12:35 either, right? Because they know they're going to lose those 5 minutes, right? They never forget details. People who suffer from mental illness, who are very forgetful otherwise, when they get to work, they don't forget nothing. People who never respond to messages and calls at work, they respond to every message, every email, every comment, every phone call gets answered. And if they don't answer, they call back. And that's because in these environments, there are consequences for acting like an incompetent fool. There really are, right? If you allowed your so-called mental illness, this fake thing, and I'm gonna call it fake, for the simple fact that you don't have mental illness at work. You are not be. You don't go to your belligerent to your boss and be as belligerent to your boss as you are to your husband, because you know your boss will fire you instantly. But you're belligerent to your husband, you got mental illness to your knee bending husband, because you know he's not going nowhere. That boss of yours, he'll send you straight to the streets. And you know you with him, so goes the money. And when goes the money, goes the lifestyle. With your husband, you can do whatever you want. Mental illness, for this reason, for me, for most people who claim it, I think you're all fakes. For most people, I think it's all fake, right? If you did any of these things, right, at work, You acted belligerent, started being violent, disrespectful, insulting people. They wouldn't call a psychologist. When people act like this at work, they don't call a psychologist. You know, they would call security and have you escorted out of the building, and then you'd get fired. If you ran a business, your customers would never ever return if they saw you act irrationally. That's why you never see a business owner suffer from mental illness. Just think about it. You're going to be having a mental breakdown in the middle of business with your customers. Wives are coming in there with their kids trying to buy your products, and there you are acting a fool. You think that woman's gonna bring her kids back in there, or any of her friends are gonna bring their kids back into your shop to buy your products, to buy your food, to eat your things, right? You eat your meals and whatever in your restaurant. You think they're gonna do that when you start acting a fool? Absolutely not. So you start a business? No mental health. You want to keep your job? No mental health. You want to earn a salary? No mental health for you. You notice how there's a pattern there? You notice how there's a pattern, right? Some people would never even come to your shop, and they wouldn't even hire you if they thought you were unstable or some kind of a threat. If you went to a job interview and told someone that you were suffering from bipolar mood disorder, which is what we're going to talk about today in today's edification, they wouldn't hire you. And you know that. And if you had bipolar and demonstrated it at work, they would find a reason to release you. Because now not only are you a threat to yourself, you're a threat to their customers, and you're a threat to all of their other employees. They could be sued by allowing you to remain at work, an unstable person. And you know people wouldn't hire you if you told them that you had mental illness. So what do? You keep yourself under control, which tells me that you can keep it under control. If you can choose to keep your mental illness under control at work, at your business, at school, then you can keep it under control all the time. And this is my problem right here about mental health. You mean to tell me for 8 to 10 to 12 hours every single day, decade after decade after decade, your mental health is perfectly under control, immaculately and exemplary under control in every possible way? If mental health was as factual and as impactful and as consequential and as severe as it is described, surely it would also be predictable. It would be constant. It wouldn't be like, oh, over here I have mental health, but over there I don't have mental health. No, you would have it everywhere. And this is the problem, right? People who have diabetes all the time. They have it at work, they have it at school, they have it at the gym. People who have a condition have that condition all the time. That's why it's a condition. It's consistent. If I have balding head, right? If I have balding head, or I have a gap tooth or crooked teeth today, when I wake up tomorrow, my teeth are still going to be crooked. It's constant. So the fact that your mental health is not constantly unhealthy is an indication to me that something untoward is going on here. Something truly untoward is going on here, right? Surely then you would be just as dysfunctional at work as you are at home with your husband. You know, you wouldn't be able to function in a classroom or in an office or even at a regular restaurant, right? You would have no coping mechanism against this mental illness whatsoever. And yet you see these people turn it on and off like a light switch. It's on the one moment, it's off the next moment. That's a pattern. That's a predictable predictable pattern. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've had it. I have had it with the people singing mental health, the people who follow this philosophy, who believe in in these insights, right? I've had it with you people. I really have. And I've had it because your inconsistency to me seems like hypocrisy. Something isn't right here. Something isn't right here. You know, you'll date a counterpart who claim to have bipolar mood disorder. And her bipolar will never, people at work will never know she has bipolar. But you would never know that she was a normal person at work. You would never ever know, right? Until you found out. And then you'd be like, wait a minute, you come home and act like a complete fool for me, but with these people, they get a normal, sound, logical person who understands words, you know? And the difference is so apparent and so clear to see, you know? And it's so blatant. It's like right in front of you. It's like right in front of you. And I just don't understand why people see this blatant pattern, this obvious pattern of behavior, and just overlook it and just act like, yeah, well, her bipolar is acting up. No, no, no. Bipolar doesn't act up, it's there all the time. It's there all the time, like diabetes, like everything else. It should be there every single moment of the time. With bipolar, if you had bipolar, extreme bipolar, that kind of thing, you shouldn't be able to get a job. You shouldn't be able to carry a firearm. You shouldn't be able to drive a car. You shouldn't be working with the elderly or anyone who can't defend themselves against you. So you shouldn't be working with disabled people. You shouldn't be working with children. You shouldn't be working with the elderly. So the best you can be is a store clerk, right? Well, no, no, you can't be a store clerk either. You can't work with customers, you know. And these people, they think they're so surprising. Oh, they think they're so smart. These people, they think they have like that shock factor. You know, they think they're catching you by surprise. I'm gonna walk in through the door and there's my bipolar. And really, it's just tiring. You know, people are tired, man. You know, people are tired. Like, people don't have energy like that. Kids have energy because all they do all day long is play, 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 play. Young people have energy because they don't have nothing to do. But after like 25 years old, people don't have energy like that. Really, people don't have energy to be up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, arguing. The cops are coming, I'm making a statement. You know what I mean? All of that, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what happens at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I'm assuming if the police come, you have to make a statement. People don't have energy for this nonsense, man. People don't have energy for you. You people are boring, man. You know, like when you do these things, these mental illness things that you like to do, people are repelled by it to the point that what they really want to do is just push you away, right? Like they'll get physical with you, but not to hurt you. They're not trying to hurt you. They're just trying to push you away from them. And it's because you're repellent, right? It's because what you're doing is not what we would consider attractive. It's not the kind of thing people want to give their attention to. We give attention to that thing because we want to make it stop. Do you understand? It's not because we want more of it. We want to make it stop. And eventually, people just stay away from you. This is why they used to have asylums for these kinds of people, because you just wouldn't stop, right? And like, people just want a normal life. Like, people just want to live their lives, man. You know, we understand the repetitive nature of life, right? The sun comes up every day, the moon comes up every day. The wind blows, the trees make oxygen every day. You never hear trees say, hey, today is my off day, I'm not making no oxygen, right? They make oxygen. This is the repetitive nature of life. And then when these people go out of their way to shake things up, right? All they do is they create a pattern of destruction. If you look at the lives of most counterparts, they'll tell you they are unpredictable, but all they have is a pattern of failure, 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 failure. It's predictable, right? And the cause of their failure, mental illness. No, no, no. It's first the failure, then the mental illness. First the failure, then the mental illness. And it's like, it's predictable. We know what's going on and we're bored with it. Like mental illness it is the ship that has sailed. Really, it has sailed. Like it had its moment in the sun. It's 15 minutes of fame, like COVID, if I can even say that word. Like it had its moment, man. It had its moment. If that pandemic had to return, nobody is staying in their apartments. Nobody's staying home. Nobody's gonna do. You're not gonna be able to pull that off twice. It won't. And this is the problem with things like that, right? Global climate change, mental health, all those kinds of things. You're gonna have to wait like generations before you can pull this kind of thing off again, right? You're gonna have to wait like 2 3 generations. That could be like 50 years before you bring this back up, right? Because like people are sick of it, man. Every time people hear climate change, people don't care. People are still driving cars. More cars have been more petrol based cars, more plastic based products are being made today, right now, post global change era, post climate change era, more than ever. More than ever. It hasn't slowed down. It's by 10 times more, right? Because people heard about it, it was a thing, and nobody cared. I mean, no one cares about climate change. I promise you, the phones are bigger, the batteries on the phones are bigger. We're consuming more energy, we're making more data, we're using more plastic, we're burning more fuel, we're consuming more food than ever before in human history. And this is right after climate change, right? Now, after other pandemics too, people have just have had it. And this is true of mental health. Like we have seen you circle this drain over and over and over again, and we have had it. Just get back to work. This is why they are sending you to work. Instead of putting you in an asylum, they just send you to work because there they know you'll act right. And it's enough, man. It's enough. Mental health has become as predictable and as mundane as trying to date a 10-foot tall man with 10 fingers and 10 toes on one hand. You know what I'm talking about. You know, it, it's like think about this thing. Let's talk about this 6 foot tall man, right? If you're gonna be 6'5", 6'6", just play in the NBA, man. If you're 6'5" and you're not playing in the NBA, what is the point of being tall? Just explain that to me. And I know not every person who's 6'5" is gonna play in the NBA, but what is the purpose of being that tall and then work an average job like me? Let's just talk about it, ladies. You want a man that's 6 foot tall. Okay, it's nature, blah blah. I don't care. I don't care. In 2026, there are no saber-toothed tigers, no criminals coming through your door. right? No one is gonna break through your shatterproof windows, right? Why you need somebody that's 6 foot tall? Just give me 5 benefits of dating somebody that's 6 foot tall with no money. Like, okay, you're a millionaire, you're 6 foot tall, fantastic, but you could be 4 foot tall and be a millionaire and still have the same amount of luck, right? But what exactly is the purpose of this thing? And there's a pattern here. Everybody says, oh, I want a man that's 6 foot tall, I want a man that's 6 foot tall, I want a man that's 6 foot tall. Why? Okay, so I'm 6 foot tall, right? And I'm not 6 foot tall, by the way. I'm more like 4'2", 4'1", midget height. No, I'm shorter than that. And I have a hunchback. My hunchback is actually taller than my head. But this is not the point. We're not here talking about me. We're talking about you, Mr. 6 foot tall, but not playing in the NBA. If you're 6'5", you're literally the height of Michael Jordan. And you don't play in the NBA? Okay, so what do you do for a living? You're 6'5" and you work in a call center. Someone needs to explain the benefit of that for me. Like, what exactly? Okay, so you work in a call center, you're 6'5". I manage a call center. I don't manage a call center, by the way. But if I manage a call center and I'm 5'8", 5'4", 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", what difference does that do those extra feet have? You're 6'5", I'm 5'10". What do those 10 extra inches, I beg your pardon, not feet, those 10 extra inches, what difference do they really make in the grand scheme of things? I mean, you drive a second-hand car from 2007. I drive a BMW SUV. What are we talking about here? What is this? What is the purpose of this? I don't know. I'm not going to waste my time on this. This is just another one of those patterns that's just there that doesn't have any benefit at all. And it's boring, man. You tell me you want somebody that's 6 foot tall. They don't play in the NBA. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I, for one, am completely bored with mental health. you know and the weak and feeble-minded people that embrace this philosophy. I'm not talking about mental health for the mentally challenged who need it. I'm talking about mental health as a philosophy. As a way of life. It's weak. And even now, as we read through today's edification and we go through the descriptions of what a bipolar person behaves like, just think about how unremarkable this really is. I was thinking about making it explosive, or she does this and she acts like this, but really, is it that different? I mean, it's the same thing with child support, man. You know, it isn't there anything less predictable than being in child support? Like somebody who's getting divorced. Oh, I'm getting divorced. Everyone's getting divorced, man. Isn't that just the most mundane, most predictable, most boring thing in the world? Just another person having the same outcomes as everyone else. Just another person having the same symptoms as everybody else. Suffering from the same mental illness as everybody else. Man, you people are boring. Why don't you just go freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy and live an interesting life? Give us something to talk about, man. Don't come here and tell us about your feelings all the time. Now we have to sit there and listen to you tell us about how you felt as a child. Really, really, people. Now, to be fair, I know this is a very interesting article that we're going to read: signs and symptoms of bipolar mood disorder and what to do next. But, it's an interesting article, interesting information. But I think it's just the whole industry of mental health has just, it's ran its course, man. It's like the bachelor life. I've lived the bachelor's life my whole life, and then I became a vasectomite. And as a vasectomite, I know I'm grounded in this philosophy, in this life. But if you're living the bachelor life, talking about living the bachelor life, and and then you get married, and then you have kids, and then it's like, then why were you talking about it? Why were you talking about it? Then you look at the statistics, like 98, 99% of men are going to have kids by the time they're 65. Most women, I think the statistics for women are up to like 80% at 50, right? But then that's it. For women, you're not really getting kids after that. But that's the entire world, man. That's the entire world. You could bring it down to an average of, like, let's say 95%. Even then, that's a low ball. Like, that's the entire world is gonna have kids. You know, they're gonna have these outcomes. It's predictable. And then to hear all of you come out and say, oh, child support is unfair. Man, give me a break. Like, you didn't know you were going to be on child support? The minute she said, I'm pregnant, you should have went straight to the court and put yourself on child support. That's what you should do. Let me give you some advice. The minute a woman says she's pregnant, whether you're married to her or not, just do the predictable thing and go put yourself on child support. It is so predictable. And it's boring, man. There's nothing worse than a man congratulating himself for paying child support. Come on, man. Come on. I watched a video of a guy today give himself credit for paying 18 years of child support, talking about how people didn't believe in him. Oh, give me a break. Everyone knew you were going to be on child support. Everyone knew. Listen, I don't have any kids, but I know if I get somebody pregnant, they're going to put me on child support. I know this. I know this. So how is it that you don't know that you were going to be put in child support? How is it that you're now, wondering why people aren't happy with you, aren't congratulating you when you're late on child support? Come on, man. Let's see what's happening with this bipolar situation here. Predictable, man. Predictable. This article, or this information, was given to us on the 24th of September 2024, and it is from Harvard edu. It is, and their website is www.health.harvard.edu, and there is the link to the actual article should you wish to read it for yourself, but we will read it here together right now. It says identifying the symptoms of bipolar disorder can be challenging, as its fluctuating moods and behavior often go unnoticed and misrepresented. Oh, they are noticed and well represented, right? We've seen them, we know them, and we are sick and tired of them. But recognizing the key signs can be crucial for getting the right support and treatment. A person with bipolar disorder will have both major depressive episodes, periods of intense low mood, and manic or hypomanic episodes. So they go. You see, this is the thing. This is the thing that I'm talking about. So they're at work, calm and normal, just a perfectly normal human being. Then they leave the job, they're free, they're loose, then they start taking their substances, and by the time they get home, they're belligerent and mean. They're ready to fight. And it's like, no, 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 no. One moment you up, the next moment you down. And you turn that switch on. We see you turn that switch on. Because right now, as you're acting belligerent and acting a fool, if your boss was to call you, have you ever seen that? When somebody's in that mood and then their boss calls them and then suddenly they're okay. Or when they're in that mood and their mother calls them. They don't scream and shout at their mom. They answer the phone calmly and then hang up and then turn the switch back on. Have you seen that? I've seen that. And I'm like, man, this is pathetic. 10 seconds ago, you were talking like a perfectly normal person. And now that conversation is over. Now you're switching back to another person. No, no. This is pathetic. This is, it's not even interesting. That behavior is not even interesting. Just watching you act one way with another and then act another way with another person. It's like, you know what? This is pathetic, man. This is pathetic. Just pull yourself together, man. You know? Mania is an abnormally elevated mood, energy, or activity level. Hypomania is a milder form of mania. Let's look at the symptoms of each episode type. I missed that. If each episode type, my eye just jumped right over that word, right? And my brain was like, go back. So, yes, episode types so that you potentially can identify them in yourself or a loved one with bipolar mood disorder. I'm not sure if I'm the only person who's aware of their mental functions. Like I can tell if my eyes read something a certain way and my brain processes it something completely different. And then I have to return to the area where the error was made and identify which one of my faculty tools made the mistake. Was it my eyes or was it my brain? Am I the only one who has those sensations? Like, am I that in tune with myself that I can feel myself thinking? I can actually feel my brain moving as I'm thinking. Major depressive episodes, it reads: the depressive part of bipolar disorder is a period of at least 2 weeks in which you have at least five of the following symptoms, including at least one of the first two symptoms. You hear that? This is the problem that I have. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off, sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's just a couple of days. But it's never ever at work. It's never ever at your place of business because you know why? You did this nonsense, right? You remember there was that lady, that entertainer who had the talk show and then she was on and off the drugs and then eventually no more talk show. No more talk show. She's still roaming around acting a fool, but no more talk show. That's what happens when you act a fool at work. But outside there, I mean, she is out of control outside, and the world loves her for it. But at work, nah, you can't do that. So this is why, to me, all of this is just, it just doesn't seem right. How are you turning these things on and off? You're choosing, man. You're choosing, okay, that's the person I'm going to fight with, and that's the person that I'm going to be okay with. And it doesn't matter what that person does. So that's why, like, if you're the husband or you're the long-term boyfriend, it doesn't matter what you do. She has then decided that you are the person for which and with whom she will have a combative relationship moving forth. Her boss, on the other hand, she doesn't have that option. So even if she hates her boss, she could absolutely hate her boss for every reason. But she won't disrespect him the way she disrespects you. And I'm going to tell you, that boss has done nothing for her. Right? He's paid her the least amount of money that he could pay her. When your counterpart finds out how much other people at work make. Have you ever seen this? Especially counterparts of a particular ethnicity, right? The ethnic type, right? When they find out how much they've been kowtowing to their boss, and then they find out that they earn the least amount of money in the whole office. Like the janitor gets paid more than you. Right? When they find this out, they still don't turn on the boss. You're buying her house, you're buying her car, you're taking her on trips, and her boss won't even pay her as much as a janitor. This is the contradiction here. But she would never as much as raise her voice at her boss. She remembers his birthdays. She'll take money from you to go buy a gift for her boss and give him the gift. And he would never give her not one thing. Not a single thing, not even on the best day of her life. So this is what you get with these people. You get intense sadness or despair. Yeah. So on the one hand, they're perfectly normal at work. Then they come home and they're as sad as they can be. And it's like now you have to sit there and look at this person pout. As if you didn't have a full day's work, as if you're not tired yourself. As if you don't want some downtime. Now I gotta sit here and listen to this nonsense. Right? It's boring, man. Constantly listening to these people talking about their emotions is so boring. I mean, I'm gonna emphasize the point here that if your therapist, you have to pay your therapist to sit and listen to you talk about your feelings. If you went to your therapist and said to them, hey man, listen, can we just talk off the books after hours? No money, just you and me. They'd tell you no. They'd tell you absolutely not. You want me to sit there and listen to you talk about your feelings and not get paid? No way. No way. If there's a lady listening right now, I'm going to tell you something. If your emotions were interesting, the psychologist would pay you to listen to your emotions. Think about that. Men are willing to pay to be intimate with counterparts, pay for play providers and such, right? They're willing to pay because they are interested in that. They are willing to forego listening to your emotions and pay directly for the act. This is how disinterested people are in your emotions. Think about that. No one has ever offered to sit down and listen to you talk about your emotions, except because they were important to you and that person was trying to get at something else. But the emotions themselves were nothing more than a path for people to trample on to get to what they want. Your emotions mean nothing. And there are women who are like, why don't men find this interesting, the issues we talk about? Because you're not interesting. I'm not being rude. I'm being dead serious. If you were interesting, people would be coming from all over the world trying to listen to you speak. But no one is. And when you do want to speak, you have to pay for that privilege. There are people who get paid millions of dollars to speak, and you are not one of them. No one is going to pay to listen to you speak about your feelings. But you have to pay to have somebody listen to you and talk about your feelings. So if the therapist, if a psychologist, a person whose job it is to listen to people talk about their feelings doesn't want to listen to you talk about your feelings, you can't expect anyone else to want to. This is a guy who's like, it's profession, and he wouldn't do it for free. He wouldn't do it on his downtime. If you called him on his downtime, all he would do is schedule a meeting for you if he answered the phone call, right? So we have a loss of interest in activities you once enjoyed. Yes, so the one day they want to do things, the next day they think that they don't want to do anymore. And then later they get upset. These are people who say, I don't want a gift. Then you don't buy them a gift. Then they're upset that you didn't buy them a gift. And then when you do buy them a gift, then they're upset that you bought them a gift because they told you to buy them a gift. They wanted you to buy the gift and not have to ask for the gift, but they wanted the gift and they wanted you to know that they wanted a gift, but they didn't want you to know they wanted the gift. They wanted you to buy the gift because you wanted to buy the gift that you knew that she wanted. This is the kind of nonsense you have to deal with. And then you're standing there being told this has to be interesting for you. And it is so boring. It is predictable. It is like running around in circles, like watching paint dry. It is so boring. Then we have the feelings of worthlessness or guilt. Ugh. Name one of them who never feels worthless and never feels guilty. Increased or decreased appetite. Yeah, increased appetite is more like it. You know, increased or decreased sleep. So it's increased appetite and decreased sleep is the two patterns that I've noticed, right? So, on the one hand, she wants to sit and eat food all day. On the other hand, she doesn't want to go to sleep to wake up and go to work. So, but she has to go to work, you know? Then if you're suffering from major depression, you probably have slowed speech. They have too much speech. All right. Thoughts of death or suicide. This thing is number 7. Thoughts of elimination. Right. Sorry, I read that out. I just read it instinctively. Elimination. They don't eliminate themselves, these people. They say they will, but they don't. It's just, you know what it is? It's just more shock factor, trying to gain attention, trying to be unique, trying to step out. All these are just extremes of trying to like be, unpredictable, right? But it's so predictable. How many times have you seen this? Somebody who's sad all the time. Somebody who's not interested in something all the time. Somebody who feels guilty about something all the time. Somebody who eats too much or eats too little. Somebody who doesn't want to sleep when it's bedtime. This happens all the time. You know? Tiredness, trouble concentrating. I mean, these things are so boring. These things are like so ubiquitous. Every counterpart has these things, right? Every counterpart has these things. And for now, like if you start talking about these things, people are just going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, you're one of those. Because we see this all the time. Mental health has really had its moment, and good riddance, man. Good riddance. Part of me wonders what the next trend will be after mental health. Because we've really had enough of this stuff. So now I'm wondering what they'll come up with next. But mental health was supposed to be the gift that keeps on giving. The goose that lays the golden eggs. Everyone was supposed to go in there and, have discussions, go and then come back and go and then come back, as the time goes. But really, I know people will still keep using it and keep taking it seriously, but like in a professional sense, okay, but in like a social level, with people who don't really know you like that, like it's people aren't interested in that way, man. People really aren't interested in that way. It's really like if you say you have social media, it's like telling somebody you have high blood pressure. People. I mean, it's not. Sorry, if you tell somebody you have mental health, not social media. I don't know where that came from. If you tell somebody you have mental health, it's like telling them you have high blood pressure. We don't really know what that's gonna mean for us. You know what I mean? And the difference with high blood pressure or diabetes and things like that is that you can contain that within yourself. The problem with these kinds of things, the mental illness, is that for you to prove that you actually have this, you have to annoy other people, right? So because we can't prove that you have it, you have to go break things and act like a fool. And if you did that at work, they'd fire you, they'd sue you, and you'd probably get locked up. But you do it at home, so we all have to sit there and suffer this nonsense. And people, I'm telling you, people will deal with it, but they're not interested. You know what I mean? When was the last time somebody called you and said, hey, let's sit down and talk about your mental health issues? Never. Never. No one ever called you and offered to talk about your feelings. You are the one who's always offering your own feelings. Our next point is mania. A manic episode is a period of abnormally high energy or mood or irritability that lasts for at least 1 week, disrupts your daily life, and is obvious to your friends and family. You will know that you are in a manic episode if you experience at least three of the following symptoms in addition to abnormally high mood and energy. You see what I was trying to say? They contain themselves, and then when they get to their friends and their family, they act a fool, right? And now your friends and family have to sit there and tolerate your nonsense. But your colleagues at work, they're not going to tolerate not one thing that you do. Because if you did any of this at work, right, the people at work, work is actually such a good example of this. The people at work are the same people that you would socialize with outside. It's just at work, they really, like, they don't want to deal with you. But at work, they have the mechanism in place to take you out. That's the difference between the social environment and the home environment. In the home environment, that mechanism doesn't exist. But in the work environment, oh, if you acted a fool, they just take you out. And that's not like that's predictable. They have the security there. You think the security is there to keep people outside? No, it's to protect the people that are inside as well as the people from outside. Their security would just remove you from the building, right? And at home, what happens is your man tries to remove you, but instead, there's a mechanism to keep you in place. So you use the mechanism to keep yourself in place, but at work there's a mechanism to kick you out, and there's no mechanism to keep you in the job. The only mechanism you can keep yourself in the job with is self-control. Outside, there's no need for you to have self-control. But if you act a fool at work, they'll just throw you out and you'll never come back. They won't even give you a reference. So they have the mechanism in place to have you removed, and it's excellent. But your friends and family, they don't. They have to suffer your incompetence. And you will know that you are in a manic episode if you experience at least three of the following symptoms. And sorry, we've already read this. I think I've already read this. In addition to abnormally high mood and energy, number one, distractibility, right? So at work, you can focus. But at home, all you can do is watch TV, stare on your phone, do drugs, and eat ice cream. But at work, you're productive, you're finding things, you're picking up things, you're moving things, you're typing things, you're logging things in, you're logging things out. But no, here you're distracted. Here it goes again. Another problem, less need for sleep. Staying up at night. For you people that think you are so special for staying up at night. Oh, you're so boring, man. People who go to sleep at regular hours have been there and done that. Really, come on, man. You honestly think we've never stayed up all night, partying till the sun comes up? Or stayed up all night, studying all night, working on a big project, trying to get the event ready for the big day? You honestly think we've never stayed up all night? You're the first person to stay up all night. Man, you people are so boring. Just go to sleep, man. Yes, we know your energy, blah, blah, blah. You want to stay up. But then you're going to be like groggy, complaining about, oh, why do I have to be up so early? No, you don't have to be up early. You need to sleep early. But now you're going to stay up and try to be exciting. What is exciting about being up so late? Please just tell me what exactly do you see that's late at night? Okay, fine. Intimacy, right? You have intimacy. Most people like to be intimate late at night, then they can sleep and whatever. Okay, now you've had your intimacy. Why are you still awake? Why are you still awake? What are you going to do? Talk and talk and talk? Exactly. Just go to sleep. Because what are you going to talk about? Your feelings. So boring. Oh, that's so boring. That's so boring. I'm telling you the truth. Like people that have things to do, it's childish, man. I'm gonna stay up till the sun. Okay, fine, fine. You know what? Do it. Stay up, watch the sun come up, do it again, do it again, do it again. And I promise you, you do that 4 times. The fifth time, you'll be standing there like, really? Am I gonna have to look at this thing again and again? How many times, how many sunrises do you have to see? How many sunrises do you need to see for you to realize that, yeah, the sun is gonna rise in the morning? Boring, man. Then, so more activity than usual, for example, doing several things at once. Oh, yes, multitasking. Guys, there's no such thing as multitasking. There's no such thing as multitasking. It's called being distracted. It does not exist. If you don't believe me, pick up 2 phones and try to type 2 individual messages, right? So, or better yet, just try to type 2 words simultaneously. You know what will happen? Even if you have 2 words, right, and you're typing with your thumbs, you will stop, type the one, stop, type the other, stop, type the other. What you won't do is type both simultaneously. As you type the one letter, you type the other. Even if you do it slowly, you still need to stop and look and stop and look and stop and look. You're not going to be able to do things at the same time. And this is what you see by people who multitask. You see things half started and half finished, but nothing is done to completion. There's no such thing as multitasking. It's nonsense. It's a contradiction. Racing thoughts, it's always the same thoughts. It's always the same thoughts with these people. It's a man. And it's always the same thought with the knee benders. It's a counterpart and it's how broke they are. So they think I'm broke, I need a man, I'm broke, I need a woman. And both of them are, of course, completely wrong. But it's the same thought over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Right? And the truth is that it's usually a worry. So if there's a financial problem, then you're thinking about the financial problem over and over and over and over and over again. But you're not having racing thoughts like figuring out quantum mechanics, or thinking deeply, pondering about the depth of humanity's soul. No, you're not. You're just worried about paying the next bill, paying the next bill, paying the next bill. This is what they mean by racing thoughts. These are not high level thoughts. High level thoughts are done consistent in a consistent, stable, generally very quiet environment. But not racing. Petty thoughts race. Really, they do. And I'm a person with many, many thoughts, and I'm telling you, you have a good concept like freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy, it sticks with you in your mind, right? But you owe the bank a couple of $1,000, yeah, that's gonna give you racing thoughts. Risky behavior I hate this. Spending money recklessly, gambling, having unprotected intimacy, substance abuse, the usual. None of that at work. None of that at work though. Very rapid speech. Okay, yeah, I told you they talk too much, right? And grandiosity, a feeling of being superior to others. I think this grandiosity really comes from the belief that other people are willing and will do things on your behalf. Only counterparts really experience this, right? Most men get over this very quickly, especially as they, grow out of their teenage years into adulthood. But the counterpart really expects there to be someone to do something for them for the rest of their life, right? So it's not going to be your father, it's going to be a husband or something to that effect. But, and it's for this reason why they believe that they are so superior, right? They believe they're going to get someone to do things for them and they deserve it, and that makes them superior, right? If you believe that people should and will always do things for you just because you are who you are, you'd also feel good about yourself, right? But I'm not that person, and I know there are plenty of people that will do things for you. I'm just not one of them, right? So, yeah, you can enjoy your grandiosity. Hypomania is the last one here. This is a milder form of mania that lasts a shorter period of time, 4 days or more, and has less of an impact on your day to day functioning. Fair enough. And then we have psychosis. Some episodes of mania or depression can become so severe that the person experiencing the mood disturbance loses contact with reality. Signs of psychosis include delusion, a false sense of belief or judgment that is held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary, and hallucinations, hearing voices, seeing visions, or experiencing something that is not real. This sounds like substance abuse to me. This sounds like you have taken something and you believe things that are not true and you're hearing things that are not there, right? This is not happening if you're sober. This is not happening to a sober person, right? This is absolutely a person who's under the influence of intoxicants, in my opinion. Bipolar, by the way, substance abuse, very predictable. Very anything. Think about it like this: anything that they have a law for means they've predicted it, right? Anything that they have a law for means it's predictable. So and everything that is defined. So if you say I have depression, right, and we have a definition for depression along and enduring sadness, that means it's predictable. You're not saying and doing anything new. Just remember that. Like mental health, really, man, it's like, okay, now we've seen it, we've heard it. I think people are ready to move on. Let's move on to the next trend, shall we? And I know exactly what the next trend is going to be. It's going to be to freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. Move on from mental health. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. It'll be a much better move. Bipolar disorder can manifest in different combinations of symptoms. A loved one with bipolar disorder might not recognize the signs to ask for help. If you have noticed changes in a loved one's behavior or your own behavior that have a real and noticeable effect on their daily life and relationships, it may be time to seek help. Yeah, that's not gonna help. Look, again, I told you, your counterpart knows how to behave well at home. I mean, at work. They only act a fool around you. They know how to behave well in their religious institutions. They know how to behave well around their family. They know how to behave well around acquaintances. Have you ever seen like a counterpart who's upset and then they see someone new, then they act like, oh, they're something completely different? Like, oh, what's happening is not happening. And if it is happening, it's not because of them. If I know these things, then these things are predictable, man. You know? And the problem is that we see them over and over from one counterpart to the next counterpart. And all they keep hoping, these counterparts, is that you have no experience with women. If you have no experience with women, then it's okay. This is why experience with women is such a big deal. People say, go get you some experience with women. Because as soon as you do, you realize, not worth it. Not worth it. But if you don't have the experience with women, you might be wondering what the big deal is. Right? So, maybe you get that experience, but, then you'll be on child support. There's some guys who get the first experience and they think, man, this is great. And then they spend their whole life chasing that experience, chasing that experience. But by then, you're involved in this situation. And nothing is going to help. Nothing is going to help. That's why you just got to let them go, man. If you freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy, then you don't have to worry about none of these things. Talk to a psychiatrist or visit a reputable website like the American Psychiatrist Association, that's the American Psychiatrist Association, or the National Alliance on Mental Health, Illness. That's the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness. For more information on how to cope with bipolar disorder in your daily life, check out Bipolar Disorder Recognizing the Signs, Getting Help, an online guide from Harvard Medical School. I like to read their adverts, promote them, right? People go through a lot of work doing this, and I think in providing this information, I think, giving them credit and reading their adverts is the least that you can do, so go ahead and visit Harvard Medical School and see what you can see. But this is the end of the edification and also truly the end of the video. I'm really not gonna go on too much saying the same thing that I said right at the beginning of the video. Then it just becomes repetitive and the information just isn't worth the value in receiving. You know what I mean? But yes, I do plan on concluding and summing everything up. My problem with these behaviors that we've just listed is, like I mentioned, they're just so predictable. These are the kinds of things that every man experiences, comes out and says, you know what, it's not worth it. It's the nonsense, the drama. And even if you spend all night talking to that person, at the end of the night, you really don't get nothing out of it. And neither does she. She'll come out. Like, I've seen a situation where a counterpart fights to stay up all night and then goes and insults the person that stayed up all night with them. Like, oh, he's such a loser, he stayed up all night with me. Like, no, 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 you are both losers. You stayed up all night together. Like, seriously. So what you're saying is you were a loser anyway, and you were gonna stay up anyway. And what you did was you convinced somebody who you convinced someone who has the capacity to be a winner to stay up with you all night and join you as a loser. And then you go to another loser and express how much of a loser this guy is by joining you as a loser. I mean, really. I don't have time for all this. I don't have time or interest for all these issues of the counterparts. Not just because they are boring, but because they are predictable and you see them coming. And then when they're there, there's really no benefit in them being there. It's terribly boring. I'll tell you what's not boring. A vasectomy is not boring. A vasectomy is not boring. Listen, man, go freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. Go freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. Number one, you get to forego all these things and then you get to play your own mental games, your own mind games. Right? We need to make a whole new type of mental class for vasectomites. And we see how fragile the hearts and minds of humans are. And as vasectomites, these feelings, these things mean nothing to us. And they shouldn't to you. Get a vasectomy and you'll see if you think I'm joking. If you think any of this matters to me, if you think a counterpart, like, how many times do you think a counterpart will exhibit risky behavior with me? And I'm not saying it because I got power or money or influence or reputation or status. All I have is a vasectomy. That's all. That's all. Just imagine I got no money, I got no looks, I got no clout, I got no talent, I got nothing. All I have is a vasectomy. How much nonsense do you think I'm willing to tolerate? Just give me a percent. 1%, 80%, 10%, zero. I'm only willing to tolerate what I'm willing to tolerate. Win or lose, I don't care. She's gonna go to another man. What difference does it make to me? Seriously, what difference does it make to me? I got a vasectomy. What, you're gonna go get pregnant by somebody else? That's the threat? The threat is you're gonna go risk pregnancy with somebody else. I accept that. I'm okay with that. Go be with another man, see what happens. Right? I mean, it's not gonna change nothing for me, but it might change one or two things for you, 1 or 2 decades. So I'm gonna say, forgo all this nonsense, man. Mental health is so boring as an industry, as a field, as a practice, and outcomes. You know, freezing your sperm cryopreservation, oh, that's the science fiction stuff. That's where we are. And then you get to walk around this world as a new man instead of a regular one who's only got money. Oh, I've got money. Look at me, I've got money. Oh man, no one cares. You're gonna have $1 billion and bend the knee. What are we supposed to do with that? Now, if you take $1 billion and give it to a vasectomy, that's a whole different conversation. I have a vasectomy, I have 1 billion sperm and $1 billion. Oh, that would be wonderful. Oh, that would be glorious. But $1 billion in the hands of a knee bender, oh man, you're just setting the stage up for disappointment, a predictable disappointment. So, you know what? Stick to the philosophy, stick to the message of this video. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. Try it. I promise you, you'll like it. And I guarantee you peace of mind. I guarantee you, if you really want to be unpredictable in every move, just hit them with the I got the vasectomy. And then see the shock. All this nonsense goes out the window. Sleepless nights. No way, man. You know, she'll have real sleepless nights trying to figure out this vasectomy, but you're gonna sleep like a baby. You know, no more drama for you, all the drama for them. And that's really what you want. Control, self-control, self-determination, liberation. And this you get guaranteed from freezing your sperm and getting a vasectomy. Thank you for your time and your attention. As usual, I really appreciate it. As mentioned, this is the end of the video. Please, if you've enjoyed this content, like the video. Please share it with anyone who you think is going to benefit from this information, or anybody else who's sick and tired of this mental health. You know, I'm not saying it's legitimate. I never said it's not legitimate. I just said it was boring. I said it's getting boring. You know, but you'll see for yourself. My advice is freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy, protect yourself, protect your seed, protect your solitude. I'm the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, and I am the Phantom Menace. And I want to thank you again for spending this time with me. And I'd like to wish you a wonderful, excellent, and exciting and predictable day. Have a predictable day.